Hi everybody, it's Ms. Dupree. In this lesson, we're going to explore plate boundaries. Let's review. You've already learned that Earth's rocky material can be divided into two layers, the lithosphere and the asthenosphere. The lithosphere, which is made of Earth's crust and the very top of the mantle, is made of hard, very solid, rigid rock. It's broken into several massive chunks that we call tectonic plates. And remember, those tectonic plates are floating on top of the asthenosphere, which is made of the rest of the upper mantle. And that asthenosphere is made of softer rock. It's still solid, but it's softer, so it can ooze and flow like Play-Doh or cake frosting. And as heat from Earth's core moves up through the asthenosphere, convection currents form that make the asthenosphere move. As the asthenosphere moves, the tectonic plates floating on top also move. This is what causes a lot of different geologic activity on Earth, things like volcanoes and earthquakes, mountains, the creation of new crust under the ocean. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, before we start actually talking about the different types of boundaries, let's talk about why they're important. Most geological activity happens at the sides or the edges of the plates because this is where two or more plates come together. And these are called plate boundaries. The word boundary means the edge of something. So plate boundaries are the edges of the plates, and that's where most of the action happens. And that's because as the plates move, sometimes they bump and grind against each other. If you look at this tectonic plate map, you'll see that the plates move in different directions. Sometimes they're pulling apart, like right here. Sometimes they're pushing together, like right here. And then sometimes they're sliding past each other in opposite directions, like right here. And even though this is happening, these plates are moving really slowly, only a few centimeters per year. This is about as fast as your fingernails grow. But the tectonic plates are just so massively huge that when they do move, it makes big things happen up on Earth's surface. So let's look at the different types of boundaries. There are three ways that tectonic plates can interact at plate boundaries. In this video, we're actually going to look at just one type of boundary that's called a convergent boundary. In a convergent boundary, two tectonic plates are moving toward each other or pushing together. In a convergent boundary, two different things can happen depending on the types of plates that are pushing together. The first one happens when two continental plates push together. Continental plates are going to have pretty much the same density because they're more or less the same thickness. So when they push together, the rock squeezes together and it pushes, and it doesn't have any place to go, so it pushes up. And then as those plates push and move up, mountains form. Now, it takes many millions of years to make a mountain, because remember, the plates are only moving a few centimeters each year. But over millions of years, that's a lot of centimeters. So an example of a continental convergent boundary is the Himalayan mountain range. Here, you've got the Eurasian plate and the Indo-Australian plate. These two continental plates are pushing together, which is causing the Himalayan mountains to grow larger. And in fact, they are still growing today because those plates continue to push together. Another type of convergent boundary happens when a continental and an oceanic plate push together. And in this case, the oceanic crust, which is thinner and more dense, sinks, just like our density rule. It sinks down and it gets pushed underneath the continental crust. And this is a special process. It's a convergent boundary, but this special process is called subduction. And I like to remember that submarines, which start with SUB, go down under the water. And in subduction, SUB, the oceanic plate goes down underneath the continental plate. And as that oceanic plate gets forced down, it's moving deeper and deeper into Earth. So it gets hotter and hotter until it melts. And that ends up destroying the crust. At the same time, the continental plate is going to kind of get squeezed upward above that oceanic crust. So there's just a lot going on at this boundary. And this is why subduction zones are one of the most geologically violent and active types of boundaries. Subduction zones usually have a lot of volcanoes where that melted oceanic rock can get pushed through weak spots in the crust. They have lots and lots of earthquakes. They can have tsunamis that form when the earthquakes happen out in the ocean. They can cause a tsunami to travel to the land. So just very geologically active type of boundary. So your main idea for this lesson should be that one type of plate boundary, convergent boundaries, happen anytime that two plates push toward each other. And there are two types of convergent boundaries. One where both of the plates push together and go up, and one where one plate gets pushed down underneath the other plate, and that's called subduction. But that's it for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll take a look at the other two types of plate boundaries. If you have any question about this video, please ask. Otherwise, you're all set. Good job, everybody. See you next time.